I was able to just show you the command pwd. As you navigate throughout the file system, the pwd command will print the working directory that you're currently located in. As you navigate around more and more, it'll become important to check this path, especially before executing specifically destructive commands, or to help you form the paths to the files you need to interact with. Let's try a few exercises coupling the pwd command, the ls or list command, and the cd command to navigate from directory to directory and change our current working directory. As we looked at the file hierarchy in our previous section, we know that the home directory is created for each user. I have my student user's home directory here. Ask yourself, is this navigation using the cd or change directory command an absolute or relative path? If you said absolute, you're correct. Absolute paths start with the slash. If I need to see my current working directory, I can use the print working directory command. If I wish to see the contents of my directory, I can use the ls command. Here you can see the subdirectories, colored blue in my terminal, that are contained within my student's home directory. If I wish to navigate around from this path and needed to go back to the root directory, I could use an absolute path to get there and cd to slash. However, other annotations exist for relative pathing. The ... command says to go up one subdirectory. If I print my working directory after doing so, I see that I've now exited out of the home student directory and am one level of the hierarchy higher in the home directory. If I do so again, I should be in the root working directory. If I now once again go back to the home student directory, I can also string these commands together for relative pathing. If I cd up to the ... that would have been the home directory, I don't have to stop there and could go up twice in the same command. Here, this should take me directly to the root folder. One last shortcut to mention is that a user's home directory has its own unique pathing symbol. If we cd to the tilde key found on the top left of the keyboard, that will always take you to your current user's home directory. If I print my working directory, I see that. And if you remember from earlier in the course, we have the command whoami that will tell you which user you are. If you're ever curious as to which account you're logged in with, especially when switching between several, you can always use the whoami command to tell you your username. From there, you can understand which directory you would expect to land in if you use the cd tilde command. Now that we've found our home directory, this is a great place for us to work with some sample files. Let's try using a new command called touch, which will either create a file if it doesn't exist by the name given, or update the timestamp of access to a file that already does. Let's jump back in our terminal and try this out. Let's touch a sample file. I'll call it sample.txt. If I type the ls command to list out my files, I can see that my new sample.txt command is available. The ls command provides several options. When we use these options, we can get further information about the files we're interacting with. The -l command, for example, gives us a long listing format, or an extensive set of details about the files we're looking at. Let's try ls-l on the current working directory of the home student area we were currently located. Here we can see the type of information given out by the longer listing. Throughout the course, we'll understand what many of these things mean in more detail. Briefly, this will annotate the permissions to our file, permission ownership for the user and group, various details about the timestamp for the file, and then the file name itself. We can see the most recent time that this was accessed. And if we were to touch the same file again, and then do another long listing, we would see that the timestamp has been updated. Additional to the -l option for the ls command are several others. We see the -a, which will list all files, including hidden files, as well as the R option, which says to perform this work recursively. Recursively means that we would see all of the contents from subdirectories as well. Let's try these commands out. If we say ls-al, we now see files that begin with a period or dot. These files are typically hidden. These hidden files are used for various aspects of user customizations throughout the file system and operating system. Just know that while we won't go into the details of the purpose of each of these files, file names that begin with a period or dot are considered hidden files when listing out the contents. When you wish to see these files, you'll need to supply the -A option to the ls command. Clearing our screen, let's try the ls-R command. This recursively lists the contents of all subdirectories. Instead of simply telling us the contents of the directory itself, we can see that should any files exist within any of these subdirectories, we would have listed that out. Let's try the pathing that we learned from the previous section with these new ls commands. If we wanted to do ls on anything other than our current working directory, we can path there with either absolute or relative paths. Let's try /home itself. We can see that we have two users, our demo user and our student users, that each have their own home directories. We could also do this in a similar fashion with the relative pathing. Our current working directory, shown with pwd, is home student. So when we denote // we're taking just the prior directory. In this case, just the home directory. It would be the same thing as saying ls/home. One other shorthand concept, similar to the .. notation, is the single period. The single dot is the current working directory. Saying ls dot is the same as saying ls. If I needed to move and copy files around, the period notation is a shorthand for saying to do so to your current working directory. It's still permissible to type out the whole path, either absolutely or relatively, for those commands that we'll learn in the future. But knowing these shorthands can save you a lot of keystrokes and time. Adding to your shorthand comments is the idea of the dash. If we cd to the -sign or dash, that will change directories to the last directory we were working in. It seems that our last directory we navigated from was the / directory. If we run the same command again, we should go back to where we were. This is helpful when navigating between two directories to compare or move work around. The dash annotation allows you a shorthand way to refer to the previous directory you were located in. That concludes this section. I'll see you in the next video.